Thank you. This is something that I really believe in, is the kicking game. I think it's the quickest way to win a football game. Out of 102 football games that I've been the head coach of at Virginia Tech, in those 102 games, we blocked 48 kicks. And and it's almost blocking in a kick in half the ball games that we played there. And then out of those 48, we won 41 ball games. So what I'm saying is always field change, is always momentum change. Usually, I mean, there's yardage involved, but there's momentum involved too. You know, if the team's getting ready to punt, you block it. Instead of being down there 40 more yards down the field, all of a sudden you've got 6 points, 7 points on the board. Teams line up, kick a field goal for 3. You block it, take it to the end zone. You score and get the extra point. There's a 10-point turnaround right there. So to me, it's the quickest way. The quickest way to win a football game is block a kick. And we've worked pretty hard on it at Virginia Tech. We've got emphasis going from the standpoint that I'm coach the punt block team. And I like that. I'm interested in it. I like doing it. But I think it says something about the emphasis that we place on it and place on our special teams with the football team. I coach the kickoff coverage team also. I've got other coaches that take other teams. And it came about a few years ago when one of my coaches left and he coached the 2 teams that I'm coaching now. And rather than give them to somebody else, I said, I'll take it. But I really like it because, again, I think it says it places emphasis on it. So let me, I think there's an art to this thing. I think there's certain things that we do, and I'm going to go through some principles that I believe are involved with blocking kicks. So let's get started on that. First principle is personnel. Use athletes, want people that can block kicks, not people that can just wall off. And what happens, and what I mean by that, if we got from that formation right there, well, rather than taking a guy and walling off right here and trying then to run a guy through, I'd rather take this guy and take him and then all of a sudden dip back hard inside and stretch, if we're zone blocking right there, stretch that zone. In other words, put a guy on the outside of him and put a guy on the inside guy. Both these guys have the potential to block a kick. Don't take a guy that may not be fast enough, and if he's not fast enough, then he's the guy you want walling off. But I'd rather have 2 guys in there that's got the ability to block kicks. We use all wide receivers, defensive backs, fast guys. We don't have any slow guys. And to me, it makes sense. It makes sense from the standpoint that you got to have those type of guys that can get from here to 8 yards back there, so about that far in a short period of time to block a kick. But you need good athletes to return kicks too. I don't think there's many knockout blows anymore. When you're downfield blocking, you don't really need those knockout blows. You need walling off people downfield, people that can work their feet and just shield a guy till your punt returner gets by there. So, and generally, people are going to substitute to kick the ball, so then you substitute your people, and we have all fast guys, and to me, it's the only way to go. You put your good athletes right there, and cause something to happen. The next thing, and when I show you this video in a few minutes, you shouldn't be able to tell when we're going to return a kick or when we're going to block a kick. I don't want people before the ball's snapped to say, well, wait a minute, they're getting ready to return. So if I'm man blocking, step, and then come on out there and get on downfield and cover. I want to make sure they take care of their responsibility and not know until after the ball is snapped, and then hopefully after we've taken 2 or 3 steps, whether we're actually rushing or returning. So make sure the stance is the same. If you get your foot back a certain degree when you're rushing, then that foot ought to be back the same when you're going to return. Next thing, and this makes sense, but it's something I think you got to make sure, is you line as close as you can to the neutral zone. And we start out working on a line. In other words, when we first start with these people, we work on a line. But after that, we're always off the line, because most of the time during the game, you're off the line. Whenever I'm off the line in practice, so I have a coach that sits right over there and makes sure that we're on sides. So in other words, every inch counts. When we talk about this thing, every inch counts. So you want to make sure you're getting as much of that ball as you possibly can. In other words, in that ball, you want to be as close to that kicker as you possibly can get. Next thing we say, keep your hand out in front of your head. In other words, when you line up, make sure your hand is out in front of your head. And then if your hand's on sides, then you can turn your attention towards the football. When's that ball going to be snapped? So now you know you're on sides. So again, we spend a lot of time with that, and people have to feel very comfortable. They have to do it there. And like I said, we start out with the line, then we get off the line. But getting your hand as close to that neutral zone and make sure it's out in front of your head. Principle number 5, key the ball, great get off on snap. We study the snapper during the week. In other words, sometimes they get into a system there. They get into a regular way that they snap the football. There's a certain motions that they do right before they're going to snap. Usually when you look at a snapper, things start tightening a little bit right before he's getting ready to snap the ball. The knuckles start whitening a little bit. So, and what you want is, you want a good jump on that ball, a great jump. As that ball is being snapped, here you go. Every inch counts. You know, you look back there generally, if you missed one. You know, most time when people go after a block kick, and if they miss by about that much. And every inch counts. Wherever you can make it up, that's you got to do it to make sure you got a chance to block that kick. Just like a sprinter. Just like a sprinter, you stay low and you charge coming out. You don't raise up and then go. You come out of there nice and low. And particularly when people are zone blocking. You know, they're getting back here and they're zone blocking. Then you want to make yourself small. In other words, try to get through an area sideways to make yourself small. So those are all things, sometimes just common sense there. But if you are zone blocking, you're trying to stretch that zone, then the smaller you are over there, you don't have a wide surface, you don't have your shoulders parallel, you got them turned, then the smaller you are over there and the smaller you are over here, then the more bind you put that guy in that's trying to block you. Number 7. And this is why I'm going to tell you now. Why you guys don't, or why a lot of people don't block kicks, is you're always concerned about roughing the kicker. And I was too for a number of years. But we do certain things that assures us that we're not going to have a roughing the kicker. We've had one, and it's on the video here in the time I've been there. And all those kicks that we've blocked, we've had one roughing the kicker. And there's certain things that we do. The block point is critical. It's better short than long. In other words, where that kicker normally kicks, and we study this, then our block point is going to be 2 yards short of that. If he normally kicks at 9 yards, then our landmark is going to be at 7. You never pass that. You're never past it. If you are, pull off. In other words, you got to be able to go through an area full speed. And I tell our guys, look, you know, you go for that 7 yards, you can adjust upfield. In other words, if this is my 7-yard landmark right here, all right, he normally kicks at 9, then I can adjust this way very easily. But if you're at 10 yards when he's kicking at 9, then all of a sudden you're trying to adjust back this way, and you're going to run into the kicker. So it's no problem for us to adjust that way, but it is a problem if you're too deep. But you better not be past that landmark. Again, if you are, pull off. We're not going to get this one. You know, we're not going to, it's too much risk involved. pull off. First thing we do when we come out, if I got my the punt block team, is they get down here, they see where the ball is, they look back there, and they know where their landmark is. In other words, they know exactly the spot that they're going to go to. And I'm going to show you a couple other things that we do to make sure we don't rough the kicker as we go through this. This is something that in a video I'll show you this too, and you would think this is very natural, but the distance that you make up, you come out there nice and low, and if I can get back there to that 7-yard deal, the quicker I can do that, but you've got to accelerate right here. You got to accelerate that first 5 or 6 yards, and a lot of times people get through there and they kind of coast because now they're starting to see the kicker and they're starting to adjust to him and so forth. It's accelerate. It's, you know, go. And then the next thing is your hands come up at the very last second. If you're running with your hands up in the air, and so many guys, when they first start doing it, they come through there and they want to run like this for about 3 or 4 steps. And you can't run as fast as you can if you're accelerating. And the only movement your hands have got is at the very last second, they just come up to that level right there, to where the kicker's foot is. So instead of this, it is, as you come, the very last second, boom, that's all it is. And then you've covered that ground as quickly as you possibly can. Accelerate, hands up at the very last second. We never, this is not one of those things where we don't worry about roughing the kicker, because we never work on a direct angle with that kicker. In other words, if the ball is going to be kicked here at my glass of water, then if I'm coming from the left, it's no problem because I'm coming through this way. All right? If I'm coming from the right, it's no problem because I'm coming through this way. And you've got to run through that area full speed. You know, you don't want to be going half speed back there. You've got to be able to accelerate through that area. Now, the shortest distance and the best way to block a kick is right up the middle. I mean, that's the closest distance to the kicker. But if I'm coming right up the middle, then I'm going to veer off. I'm going to be coming at you, but we're going to veer off at the last second. We're going to go to the side. And generally you want to go to the kicker's foot side, the foot he's kicking with side. In other words, if he's a right-footed kicker, you generally, if you're head up on the guy, you want to come off to his right. If he's a left-footed kicker, you're going to come off to his left. So, but you don't want to work on a direct angle with that kicker. First thing we do, we get a bunch of all our good athletes when they come in the fall, line them up on a line. We get a guy back there, he's going to take one step and kick. We take air out of the footballs. We have balls there that's about half full of air, so guys are not hurting their hands when they block a kick. We get this guy, and he just, we snap a ball so we see the guy get his jump and so forth. And then he goes back there to the landmark. Then we just have the guy take a natural motion and kick those soft balls. And then we have these guys coming. I get a coach on the other side. In other words, if I got my kicker right here, then I have a coach that stands right behind there, and I'll watch. What he watches is, does the guy keep his eyes open? And it's kind of a fundamental deal, but there's so many guys that come through there, and the first thing they want to do is turn their head. And then the next thing some of them do is when the contact's about ready to happen, they close their eyes. If either one of those occur, then he's back down the other end of the field. He's not going to be on our punt block team, because it's a fundamental. You want to keep your eyes open and look at the football. And it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Here's the next thing. Here's the next thing that says we're not going to have a guy roughing the kicker. We always stay on our feet. All right? And people say, well, some people go back here and jump. All right? And I'd say, well, why wouldn't a sprinter jump through the 100-yard dash line? In other words, he runs through it. Well, we do the same thing. But what happens here is, as long as you're on your feet, you can adjust. When you leave your feet, when you're up in the air, then you have no control after that. People can move under you. People can get blocked into you, knock you in. There's a lot of things that can happen, and most of them are bad. in my opinion, when you're off your feet. You know, we've blocked a lot of kicks, but, you know, we've missed some barely, too. But I'll tell you this now, we're not going to get back there and take the chances of roughing the kicker. Because, again, we used to be pretty much where we either was a return or whether we was a full rush, a 10-man rush, all right? But more so than not anymore, we have like 6 guys rushing, and then the other guys, we've got to return, like it's a rush right, return right. We usually have somebody rushing 3, 4 guys on just about every return. And I like that, but you got to have confidence that you guys are not going to get back there and rough the kicker. Yeah, I used to not call the rushes. In other words, when we had a 10-man rush, I'd say, well, if it's more than 5 yards, then let's rush them, figuring that if we did somehow get knocked in there and it's a 5-yard penalty as opposed to roughing the kicker 15-yard penalty, then they still don't have their first down. But it's hard dealing like that, too. I'd much rather do it the way we do now, and we just call it, and we don't, if you follow these principles, we're not going to worry about roughing the kicker, but you're always keeping pressure on. And I like it. In our offense, I like keeping the pressure on. Defense, I like keeping the pressure on. Kicking game, I like keeping the pressure on. And I think this does it. And I'm going to tell you this. If you've got the threat of blocking kicks, then you've got a pretty good threat of returning kicks, because it works just like offense to me. In other words, if you can throw the football, you probably got a chance to have a pretty good running game. If you got a good running game, you got a pretty good chance to have a throwing game, because they feed off each other. But if you got a threat of blocking kicks, and those people want to sit in there and protect, they make sure that they protect. They spend extra time that week protected. But that means they're not getting downfield and covering. And 2 years ago, we had a guy that led the Big East in punt returns, Antonio Freeman. He's with Green Bay. He had a return there late in the year, this year, matter of fact, for Green Bay. And we were able to block kicks. And this past year, we returned one in the Sugar Bowl. You know, so if you got the threat of blocking kicks, you got the threat. You should have a threat if you got the guy back there that can do it of returning kicks. Stay on your feet. I'm going to tell you, stay on your feet. This is a principle right here. We only want, and when it's all said and done, you only want one person free. You don't want 2 people free, because now they're getting in each other's way. They can't go through that block point area full speed back there. You only want one person. All right? And then we do a couple things to try to ensure that we keep that block point area free back there. If there's more than one, then it gets crowded. Now you can't do things full speed back there at that block point area. Rule here. If you've knocked off your course, in other words, you're going to the block point, if you're knocked off more than 1 step, stop. Work to the outside. All right? If I'm coming from the left, I'm knocked off my course more than 1 step, stop. Work to the outside. It does a couple things. It keeps that area from getting congested back there. Now, when we block a kick, we got people spread out. Now we can get it and take it to the end zone. If that guy one of these days sees his kick's going to be blocked, and all of a sudden he pulls down and starts to round, we've got people to the outside to help us with that. So generally speaking, we always have somebody for the fake on each side. Now, if you got a 10-man rush, then you don't have anyone for the fake. But that's where it helps if they're stopping and working to the outside too. So let me say this, I don't overcoach that. We coach it, but we don't overcoach it, because what happens, all those people, those 10 guys up front there, those 10 guys up front need to go with the idea, if you got a 10-man rush, would go with the idea that I'm going to go free. They got to come out there nice and low. They got to get that great jump, because you never know which one's going to pop. Sometimes they screw up their protection, whatever. You never know which one's going to go free. So all of them's got to keep coming out of there. But then they react to this. If it happens, they get blocked or knocked off their course. Then and you want all of them blocked except one. You know, so just stop, work to the outside. Next rule. Don't avoid or knock the personal protector into block point. Again, keep that area free. In other words, if here's my personal protector, I don't want to get back here and all of a sudden go around, because if I'm going around, generally I'm not going to make it. Generally he's going to block me, and all I've done is block someone else that might be free. All right? And then the next thing I don't want to do is take this guy, and I see it so many times, this guy gets back here and the ball's going to be kicked right back there, and they take this guy and just jam him right on back into the area. But he hadn't done, he's blocked me. You know, what we do, matter of fact, is I'm come here and the personal protector is going to block me, I'll stop and pull him this way. All right? I want to get his butt out of the blocking area back there. In other words, I want to keep that area free right there so we can work full speed back there. So, and generally, we want him out of there. If he's going to block it, personal protector, and he's going to block someone, whoever he blocks, stop, pull the guy to you. And don't get out of your lane because you're going to block someone else. And this kind of fits into that. Run a direct line to the block point. Do not get knocked out of your lane and block other people. And again, this is that one step, stop, the whole deal. But so many people, they get here and they get blocked, and they just kind of keep running, and all you do is block someone else. In other words, you keep someone else from having a lane to get there. So, in other words, don't get knocked around. In other words, we got little guys, and sometimes it's hard. They're not real heavy guys, and sometimes hard for them to not get knocked around. But what we say is, you know, hold your own in there and don't get knocked around all over the place, because we got lanes, and keep the other lanes free. Now, it's not always, I'll say this to you, it's not always direct lines. When I say run a direct line to the block point, it's not always a straight line. Okay? If it's man protection, generally it is. You know, in other words, we're going to try to mess up their numbering somehow, maybe twist something. But if it's zone protection, a lot of times is, and we got some of these in there. Let's just say we got, we'd take one person and kind of occupy that area right here. Then we'd try to get 3 on 2 out here, and this guy would maybe start out outside, but dip hard. Like I said a while ago, dip hard right back inside. All right? And then because we're going to try to put this zone area in a bind right here. And what we'd like for this guy to do then is to come upfield to the point where this tackle right here, cannot get his hands on you. And then, when you get to that point, bend hard. Bend hard. Actually run away from that up back. On back down inside. And whatever, let's just say 7 yards is the landmark right there. Then bend hard for that 7-yard area right there. And then this guy right here, let's put this guy in a bind now. In other words, this guy's running away from him. Now let's put this guy in a bind. So now you're going to come right out across that outside shoulder. But you're going for 7 yards. You bend hard in there for 7 yards. If you're getting blocked, fine, pull off. Okay? All right? And if you can't make that 7-yard area right there, if something happened that you're not on your landmark, stop. It's over for this one. Pull off. All right? But I don't want to get that. I don't want to rough that kicker. But again, it's not direct lines that you run a lot of times. It's working the angles. You work upfield and then bend hard for the 7-yard area. We do it every Friday, as I said in that earlier presentation. The block kick, behind the line of scrimmage or across the line of scrimmage. You know, we line up there on Friday, we snap the ball's going to be blocked. You throw it down. If it's past the line of scrimmage, we're going to work on getting that ball to the end zone. If the ball goes past the line of scrimmage, the other way, it's just like it's never been touched. We're going to get away from it. If it's right there at the line of scrimmage, that question always comes up. If it's right there at the line of scrimmage and you don't know if it's passed or not, then what we say, if the ball's been blocked, I'm on defense right here, then I want to get right behind the ball just like this. I don't want, if I'm not sure, I don't want to touch it and then all of a sudden not get on it, and then they get back on it, it's their ball. All right? If it was past the line of scrimmage. So what we do is we just get right here and then let them make the move. If they should grab the ball, then I'm ready to make the tackle right there. If no one grabs it, then the official's going to blow it dead sooner or later. So if we don't know if it's right at the line of scrimmage, just get in a position and get ready to wait to see what happens. If it's past, if it's behind the line of scrimmage, then let's make sure we get the ball to the end zone. I'll show you a couple of shots here. And I'm going to tell you, if you miss this one, if any of us block a kick and we don't do our best to get that ball to the end zone, then we really missed an opportunity, because you generally have the advantage. You usually have 2, 3, 4, 5 guys there, and they got 1, 2, 3 chasing you. All right? The rule, whoever the nearest guy is to the block kick, you're going to take your time, you're going to pick the ball up, and you're going to score with it. All right? Everyone else, turn and block the nearest guy. In other words, if you're not the nearest guy, if I'm the nearest guy, then everybody else should be turning and blocking. And there's the ball. And take your time to pick it up. So many times, and I'll show you clips right there with us. People get in a hurry, and they're trying to get the ball, and now they're stumbling, they fall down, and all of a sudden you don't advance the ball to the end zone. So the nearest guy to it, pick it up, stop, pick it up, take your time. Everybody else, turn and block. Okay, those are the rules. And I'll show you some block kicks on here. Then again, let me go through this with you, because if you can block them, then you should be able to return them. And it's got to all look the same. I'll just go to a basic, like middle return right here that we would use. Okay? And if we got a tight formation, so many, what we see mostly in college right now is where you got the 2 wideouts out there. But let's just start out with a tight formation. And what we do here is with number 1 and number 10. Number 1 and number 10 is that you would come, excuse me, let me start out with 5 and 6. Let me start out with 5 and 6. All right? And what we do is we take that center. Here's the center. I'm 5, there's 6. We get pad under pad, get our head right back up, take that center back as far as we can take it, keep him from getting downfield, and then wherever the personal protector comes off of, if he comes this way, then I'm going to pick up the personal protector. 6 is going to stay with the center. If he comes off that way, I'm going to stay with the center. 6 is going to take the personal protector. But again, what you try to do is block 2 people there that can come right down the pipe. This is the middle return. Return should come right back up the pipe. All right? If it's off to the side one way or the other, then that return guy should work his way back to the middle of the return. So that's 5 and 6. All right? 3, 4, 7, and 8, you're going to pop and turn. All right? And you're going to take those guys right there, and you want them to think it's rush for as long as you can. Go right at them and just keep running. And if they're responsible for blocking you, they'll block right there. If it's zone, the harder you go, the longer they'll stay in there. Then turn and run with them. And I can tell you, we used to say, all right, be slightly behind the guy. In other words, if my return guy is right here, you're going in that direction, okay, I'm getting ready to block you, but be slightly behind, because you're going to have to come back inside to make the tackle on the return guy. And the further you are away, in other words, if say I'm the tackle and this is my guy out here, then I can actually get further away from him, because he's eventually got to come further back in. But we don't say that anymore. Got too many clipping penalties, you know, you want positive things happen. You don't want that kicker rough, and you don't want clipping penalties downfield. Those can kill you faster than anything. What we say now is you're side by side with the guy. I'm going to be even with the guy. All right? I want to irritate those guys as much as I can. We study the personnel in this thing. All right? And who you're blocking that week. 4, you study that guard right there, that guy in that position right there. You know your ability, and you should know his ability. And if your ability is good where you can irritate him, the more you can irritate him going down the field, bumping him, nagging him, all right, the better off it is, because now he's not getting on down there. But the end thing is, when you get within 10 yards of that return guy, you got to be able to wall him off. You got to be able to put your body between him and the return guy. All right, and then after that, you let the good athletes work. Okay. We used to, and I think I said this earlier, we used to get really excited about those knockout shots. The more I could come down here and just whack that guy right there, you know, it was good, but it wasn't good because generally speaking, the officials start calling it clipping. If it's close and it's a knockout shot, that guy, the officials will call that. If it's close and you're walling, more times than not, the official won't call it. And then the next thing that we found happening, more times than not, when I whacked that guy, I knocked him into our other guy trying to block that guy over there and knocked him off. So, you know, all it is a wall-off downfield returning kicks. I mean, that's what it is. It's, we don't see many. We don't have very many. Occasionally on the side returns where you can zero in, we'll get the knockout shots. But we don't have very many in our returns anymore. Okay, so that's their pop and trail. These guys, number 2 and number 9, come out checking for the fake. All right, you guys check for the fake. We don't get to know what that guy right there is doing. All right, know what these guys right here are doing. All right, same thing over here. Check for the fake. All right, then you're going to come across. You're going to block number 1 over here as he comes down. Again, irritate him if you can. Wall off when you get 10 yards away. You're going to block number 1 over here. In other words, you're going to come out. You're going to block number 1 over here coming down. All right? So we hope we've created a seam in here by taking that center back. We're going to get the personal protector. All right? We're going to get cross blocks on number 1. Number 1 and number 10. Number 1 and number 10. All right? Come hard. All right? Get under control. Get under control. We're not going to block this one. If it's a full return, we're not going to block it unless they screwed up in their snap or the punter's mishandled or he's out of stride somehow. All right, and if they are, then let's block it. But otherwise, make the ball be kicked on time. And now it's a 100-yard sprint. It's a non-stop flight right back down the middle of the field. Right back down the middle of the field. Now, if I've got a guy in that position, here my return guy is going to be coming back up here pretty soon. But let's just say I got a guy in that position. Well, what we tell this guy is, now you get on the side, you get on the outside, and I'm on that return guy. I better break off of you that way. Okay? If I'm coming back down here 1,000 miles an hour, and there's a guy on the outside, then come ahead and let's wall him off inside, and the return guy should come right on back up the pipe. Okay? So use good judgment there. So that's a basic middle return. Now, if we try to basically keep people the same. In other words, and what we see so much of anymore is the wide outs and so forth. But if that was the case, then we'd basically try to keep people doing the same. That's the one I just went over with you just now. So here, we still have 5 and 6. You take the center. One of you are going to come off on the personal protector at the end. When the personal protector comes out of there, one of you will come off. All right? 4 and 7. 4 and 7, you're still doing the same thing. You're popping and trailing number 2. All right? 2, and this should be 9 right here. That should be 8 right there. Secretary messed that up. But 2 and 9, you're still coming out, checking the fake. 2 and 9, coming out, checking the fake. You got number 1. All right? 2 and 9, come out, check the fake. You got number 1. All right? 1 and 10, now we got wideouts out here, and what you want to do is position yourself, and you like to keep that guy on the outside. Let him get outside. Again, be able to block him when he's 10 yards away for sure. Harass him if you can. It needs pretty good athletes out here. So there's got to be a change right here. 3 and 8. Now, you used to have number 3. Well, you're still doing the same thing here, except you just do it a little bit different. You come hard. If there's zone blocking number 3, he'll be right back here to block you. All right? Come hard. Get under control. Now, this guy is normally a contained guy. All right? So now you're the one that's going to come hard right back down the middle and then go out and block number 3. Instead of doing it the conventional way, you're just doing it a little bit different way, but kind of trying to keep people's job the same, regardless of whether it's a tight formation or a wide formation. Another way that we would run a middle return, for example, and I've got a few of these in here, I think. And we've changed this up a little bit from time to time, but let's just, this just got 1, I got 2, 3, 4, we'll just keep numbers like they are, 7, 8, 9. You know, if we got a team at zone blocks, one side, let's just say they're zone blocking over here. All right, and you're going to man block over here. Let's just say that guy's got number 1, and that guy's got number 2, and that guy's got number 3, and that guy's got number 4. All right. This goes back to putting a rush on, a legitimate rush. In other words, it's going to be a rush middle, return middle. But what I'd like to do with this number 5 right here, in other words, if he's stepping this way to zone block, and he's blocking that area right there, and so he's basically thinking about blocking number 6, assuming that 6 is going to come you know, in there. I like to take this guy and bang. We call this bang. In other words, knock that center off his stride 1 step. You know, knock him off his stride 1 step. And then keep on coming. All right? Again, this is a non-stop flight. All right? This guy, if you can take 1 step, but be gaining ground the whole time, and then you just come right back around. And now we get that center in the bind, and we may get 2-on-1 on the personal protector. All right, and then go ahead and rush this thing just like that. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. If we were doing that, 4, we'd still 4 and 7 pop and trail right there. I like doing this way. I like to bring these guys around, because anytime you start twisting, those guys start sitting in there a little bit longer to see what's happening, and start around just like you're rushing. But then you're going to stop and maybe take the personal protector. You're going to come around and you're going to stop and take the center. All right, so we got the center, we got the center, we got the personal protector, 4's taken here, 7's taken here. Now you back out, check the fake, back out, check the fake. You're going to take number 1 on this side. You take number 1 on this side right here. All right, this guy right here. And then we let the contained people go here. All right, and then you're saying, okay, we got a chance to block it. And those contained people may fall in there at the end, but you probably get the ball 10 yards on back up the field, too, 15 yards on back up the field. If you got these everyone else blocked and get a little crack in there. So that's another way, for example, that we would run the middle return. I'll say this to you: anytime you got the zone blocking going on right here, I think it's important. Let's just say let's just say. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just do it this way this time. All right. Let's just say 7 is going to come, or let's just make that guy 8 and that guy 7 to keep with what I did a while ago. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's just say 8. All right, you're going to come and block number 1 over here. All right. 9. Oh, this is 7. 7 and 9. Go hard. If you've got zone blocking people, go hard 3, 4, 5 steps, because they're going to be back there to block you. I mean, they've got to stay in there to block you. And the more you make it look like a rush, the same thing right here. And even if you're going to pop and trail these guys, go hard, make them think it's a rush, because they'll stay back there and block you. And then this guy right here, he normally goes out there to contain, and this guy will fan out a little bit. Then you just turn on him and work with him. But the harder you go, the more you keep. In other words, if I keep this guy in here and he's 5, 6 steps off that line of scrimmage, and that's 5 or 6 steps he's got to make up to get back to the line of scrimmage. So anytime there's zone blocking going on, all right, the more you can, the more, and see right here, I was going to say 9, you turn and you're going to pop and trail on that guy. 7, you're going to pop and trail on that guy. But the more I can keep him in there, the longer I can keep him in there, the better off that whole situation is going to work. That's just a couple ideas right there. Let's look at some video. I'm not sure that I can work this video real well, but let's look at a little video on I need help here. Where's my guy gone? Hang on just 1 second. Turn the light back on, please. Okay. Just some fundamental things right here. it's hard for me to show you. Let me do it one more time. Every second, every step counts. I'm going to show you two guys right here. Maybe I'm not. But these two guys right here, one gets a great jump, this guy gets a slow jump, and that guy beats him back there by that much. And getting a jump on the ball is so important in this deal, you guys, and some people can't. I talked about running with your hands up in the air. Watch this guy running with his hands instead of, he puts them up in the air at the very last second, or he puts them up in the air too soon. And see, instead of exploding through that area, he's running with his hands up. Just put them up at the very last second. Bad fundamental right there. See him veer off right there, though. In other words, we don't work on direct lines with the quarterback, or excuse me, with the kicker. He's going to come through right here. Gets a little, he gets too high, but and notice this guy right here too. In other words, don't get those roughing the kicker penalties. This guy right here, he gets there and sees he doesn't have it, and pulls off. Sometimes kickers, just the threat of good things happen. Look at this guy short stroke it right there, and then all of a sudden he's kicking it out of bounds over there. We gain about 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards, ever how you get it, whether you return it, block it, whatever. But those yardage, when you add it up at the end of the game, it makes a difference. This is something, when you put 10 people up at the line of scrimmage, you got to be careful about it. And we also work on this on Friday. It's a Peter call. If the ball's on the ground, these guys are going back hard here to block. This guy's got to make sure they understand he's screaming Peter, but see, it hits that guy right there, and now they get on it. It's got to be an echo right there. And when you got everybody up here blocking, and then they're coming downfield, you got that guy back there has got to make sure that he gets that Peter squared away. Let me show you this right here. Bad landmark. He had to slow down going through the block area. He's on the wrong landmark. I think if he'd have had the right landmark, he'd have blocked the thing. If he could have kept on accelerating. Landmark, know that. Be sure you're on the right one. Right here, I put this in here. When the guy's kicking us inside there, we don't give the fair catch signal. Watch everybody come to him right here. And the ball bounces, go in the end zone. When you give a fair catch signal, all of a sudden, and the same thing happens right here. Watch everybody come to him. When you give a fair catch signal, that just allows these guys to run to the end zone and turn around and get the ball inside the 10. Here's some 10-man rush deals. This machine's kind of hard to operate right here. And there's and I'm going to show it from the side and from behind. But notice the guy just take it right off his foot. Here's a situation where the center's having to go over. That's why you need quick guys in here. Center's trying to go over and block him. See him take it off his foot? Never leaves his feet. We'll watch it from this side. We'll watch it from the end zone. Never leaves his feet. This will be the guy coming right here. Take it right off his foot. Turn and block. That guy will turn and block. All right, same thing right here. We'll just watch it from the end zone. And here's one of those situations. Here's one of those situations where we should have got that ball in the end zone. This guy right here is going to come free this time. All right, but see him stay on his feet. This was a couple years back right here. The principles are there. In other words, accelerate, look at it, take it off his foot. Don't close your eyes. Don't leave your feet. You see some guys right back there stopping. They were blocked. They were stopping, starting to work to the outside. Same thing right here. And here's another one. And I'm going to tell you what, we got 3 points out of this. This guy right here is going to come. He's going to bend hard back inside. Well, what's happening now here, guys? Huh? I'm on a fast deal and I can't get it off. Anybody know how to operate this? See, right there is this great day. I need some help. Turn the lights on there a second, please. Am I right now? See, this guy should have just taken his time and picked it up. He got all nervous, and let me take it back. Well, I know it. Look at the advantage we got right there. Look at all the people we got and all the, and we end up with 3 points out of this in the end. If we just one guy's trying to block, but we should have blocked him and picked the thing up and went on the end zone. Guy put up his hands a little bit too soon, but again, the principles are there. Don't leave your feet. This guy right here is going to block it. Went off to the side. How many? Okay. My point here is, we fair caught this one right here. Let me see if I can get that back. We fair caught it. But look how much room we got if we had gone ahead. And a lot of times when you get a 10-man rush, it's a great return time. In other words, look at all the people staying in here to block. And if we just have caught it and got on back up here, we're going to get about 10 more yards upfield. And any way you can get those 10 yards, now that's one first down you didn't have to get. Here is one I believe that we do get a little bit of return on. We had the full rush going, and we always have it's automatic return right. And we expect those guys to go full speed getting on back down here. If you're on this side, just turn. All right? Turn and get on back down here, and if you do, you can get a critical block. See, these guys are rushing. Here they come. Sprint. This guy's sprinting a little bit better than that guy's sprint, but he gets a critical block there, too. Get the ball on down the field about 10 yards. All right, these are rushes with returns. In other words, we're rushing one side, and right here, let me show you this one right here. We're rushing one side, and here we're rushing from the outside. We're rushing from the two guys on the outside. But look at this tackle for this team. He thinks it's a return and starts out of there. Let me show you. He thinks he starts out of there, and all of a sudden that guy goes free. Now, he left his foot, or his feet. As a freshman, this is about the second ball game that year, a couple years back. This guy, we block it here at the... more times than not, we'll return it when it's that close to the end zone. We'll return it figure like we're going to get good field position, but we were behind this ball game. Here's that cross rush I was talking to you about. Dang, see, we're crossing here in the middle, banging and going, and the bang guy went free. He got a piece of it. Peter, get away from it. All right. And there's a situation where we didn't get there. It's rush right, return right. We get back the ball back up the middle, and I tell you, we got them circled over here. We almost got a big return going right there. Don't work on direct angles there. That's showing this from behind. Matter of fact, we didn't block anybody. If we'd have blocked anybody, I think we'd have had something going here. Here's that running upfield, and then bending hard in there. Watch this guy right here. That guy right there. Go, go. Reach out the last second. And here's this happened this year. We got 3 points out of this one. And look at the advantage we got. It's amazing. It's not very good when you don't score 6.7 points when we got an advantage like that. There he comes. Look at it. This guy thought he did good, too. Here we go, block it. That one's in the traffic. That was in traffic. We did have a chance to return that. Now, that'll happen some. But let's see, this guy right here is going to bend in there hard. Take it right off his foot. Pick it up. Let's go. He's picking it up. Try and get there. I'll show you a couple more here. Same thing right there. Now, this is the one I was telling you. Look at the guys right here. They realized the ball has crossed the line of scrimmage. They backed off of it. Look at it from behind. That's why we do that thing on Friday. We get it blocked. We're going to block it from this side. It's up there close to the line of scrimmage. It's past the line of scrimmage. Get away from it. There you go. Let me close with that right there. Thank you all very much, fellas. Nice being with you.